by Bobby Marks, ESPN NBA front office insider. Morning, Bobby.
Morning, guys. How are you?
So we're doing well. The NBA seems to be doing pretty well. Seems to me a lot of this is about smuggling in a harder cap to the players. Looks like a big win to me for the owners. But what struck you as the most significant part of the new CBA?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know about a hard cap. I mean, the Golden States of the world and Clippers and I guess Milwaukee, to an extent, the teams that probably spend, I guess, have somewhat of an unlimited budget, are going to feel, a little bit of a squeeze in the future, as far as the ability to add players to their roster, whether it be, through a taxpayer mid-level exception or to be able to go out and acquire a player in a trade. As the days of taking back additional money is probably going to be over. I think it's interesting that, these rules, most of these rules are probably not going to be phased in for another few years here. So it's not like they're telling Golden State that you have to kind of pick and choose. And that's not the case. I think that if there was a hard cap in place, then you're basically telling Oklahoma City you have to pick between Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and Josh Giddey or Orlando with some of those young players in here. So I think it helps, kind of everybody in between. There will be 3 or 4 teams that probably aren't happy with the rules. But as I said, it's, there's the cap's going to grow, the media deal, the money's going to grow, salaries are going to grow. There's more jobs that are going to be in place. The exceptions are going to grow. But I think what the league is saying is that, there are a few teams out there that basically spent at an unlimited number that basically can't help themselves as far as from that perspective. And we're going to put some guardrails in place here that's going to kind of bring them back to the path.
Well, Bobby, Clippers aside, when you look at a team like Golden State that's largely homegrown with their core players, I mean, 3 of their top 4 guys are original draft picks. So, in a way, aren't the new rules in the CBA when it comes to team spending penalizing teams that evaluate and draft players very well?
Yeah, I mean, they did go out and get Andrew Wiggins, and, they went out and signed Dante DiVincenzo this offseason, which cost them an additional $30 million towards their tax. That won't happen, in the future. You're right, though. I mean, I would have loved to see them find some type of middle ground, Chris, where, there are restrictions as far as, there's this what we call second apron team, which they would be based on how much they've spent. That still exists, but I would have loved if they get a little more of a tax break where, if Steph Curry's making $46 million, maybe 30 of that counts towards the luxury tax because that is one of your homegrown product. But, yeah, they do get penalized, with, Curry, Thompson, Green, guys that they've drafted, Kevon Looney. I think it's going to be interesting how this plays out in the next 4 years, if it's going to be Oklahoma City, who's drafted extremely well. Are they the next team that gets penalized here? But I think big picture, that's what I would have loved to see, some kind of common ground. I think you could still put the rules in place where there are restrictions as far as what you can add, but also reward teams as far as, how they draft.
Bobby Marks, ESPN NBA front office insider, joining us here on Keyshawn, J. Will, and Max. Bobby, I wanted to get into the age restriction thing here. When do you think, because it obviously didn't get agreed upon in this CBA, when do you think the NBA will allow players to come in directly from high school?
Well, this agreement is going to go out for, 6 years, 7 years here. So I don't see it. I don't think that there's a desire from either side. I know the commissioner had come out, I guess a year ago and said there was. I think the more you talk to teams, there's no desire to go into high school gyms and recruit kids. I know there are specialty events, whether it be some of these tournaments, but I think as the system is in place right now with the G League Ignite and Overtime Elite, some of these other, these programs that basically develop, I think that's going to be here for the long haul. So when will we see a change? I don't know. The next collective bargaining agreement, which could be in 2029, I guess, 2030 here. But I know just talking with teams, there is no desire to put the no age limit rule in place here.
Bobby Marks with us, KJM, ESPN Radio. Bobby, when I didn't say hard cap. I think it's a harder cap now.
Yeah.
But my basic point is it's always a pure lie whenever any league says any of this is about competitive balance, even an iota, because competitive balance, great revenue share, going to a straight revenue share, but that's not what's happening. What they're doing is essentially capping labor, right? They're putting downward pressure on labor costs. It's not as though they're just redistributing the wealth to the poor teams, right? Or are they redistributing wealth to the poor teams here? So-called poor teams.
Well, I mean, how the current system is, they're redistributing wealth to the poor teams because the more you spend, the more the Indianas of the world are going to get back a lot more money, right? So the higher the luxury tax penalty, if you have a team like Golden State that's contributing $200 million, half of that is being distributed to those middle-class teams.
Yeah, but cash can't go in between deals and you lose mid-level exceptions and stuff. That's downward pressure on labor, right?
Yeah, no, you're right. I mean, you're right, because that money that, the $30 million that you would have spent on DiVincenzo, which is half of it, now does not go back to those teams. So that's it's a fair point here as far as, you basically kind of pick your poison. Do you want more money coming back to you if you're some of these, in-between teams, or do you want, I guess, from a level playing field as far as, how you build your roster?
Bobby Marks, ladies and gentlemen, ESPN NBA front office insider. Thanks for jumping on with us this morning, Bobby.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Bobby.
Yeah, that's an interesting topic to me always, guys, because competitive balance, there are various ways you can achieve that if you redistribute the money from the rich market teams to the big market to the smaller market teams. Mm-hmm. But actually what the owners do in every sport, they just lie to the public. It's just a pure lie. Yeah. Where they say it's about, but in fact what they do is they cap what they do. The small markets go to the big markets. We need money to compete. The big markets essentially say to the small, don't look at us. Go get it from the players. Okay, great. We're going to cap what the players can make for competitive balance. Nonsense. No, I could give you a league today. I could fix the whole competitive balance thing with one day. Pure revenue sharing, no salary cap at all. Done. That's not what's happening here.
No.
There is one other part of the new CBA that will have an effect on the product on the court. We're going to load management where you lose games, among star players. You don't get to see the stars. Mm-hmm. The NBA is trying to is tying eligibility for postseason awards, meaning, well, I shouldn't say postseason awards, for awards.
Yeah, the accolades.
For the awards.
The accolades,
yeah.
Who wrote
postseason awards?
NBA,
Postseason awards makes it sound like it's for the playoffs.
Man, all of that stuff, yeah.
All NBA, MVP. You got to play 65 games. Jay, this is something that you also proposed 80% of the games, right? Mm-hmm. 65-game minimum does come with some conditions. Jay, Embiid played 64 games this year. Giannis, 62.
Yeah, but he still got another week of the regular season. So, we'll see if Giannis gets – Giannis should get over the mark. I think they have, 4 games left? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So, Joel Embiid would get over the mark, too. Yeah,
probably. Jokic has 67, so they'd all qualify.
I just like that they put a name on it, put a number on it. Mm-hmm. Just tell people what time it is. That's our – look, we said for the longest time, one of the problems we have with a lot of these awards is that there are no definitive measurements that are in place that just say, tell me what it is. Like we talked about this last year. It's like, well, did Joel Embiid not get the MVP because of games missed? And Jokic played more games even though they came in 6th in the Western Conference? Just tell us what time it is so we can have definitive measures so we can see what we need to hunt in order to get these awards. Because